exploded at this poor first, and it was terrifying and impressive. And basically he was saying, what kind of actor do you think I am, that I would walk out on a colleague and not do the off-camera lines for him? Well, of course, I was totally melted by that. When we'd done my coverage and they called lunch, he said to me, what are you doing for lunch? And I said, oh, I'll just, eat with the crew. And he said, no, get your lunch, come to my trailer, we'll have lunch together. And so the man who in Pawnbroker and In the Heat of the Night and of course on the Waterfront, performances that I had seen over and over and over again, I found myself in his trailer, sitting down, having some chicken and rice or something. So I wasn't intimidated all day. The other time I can think of, I was not actually playing a scene with this actor, but I made a film version of Moby Dick some years ago in Australia, and not knowing, I'm very intimidated by the thought of playing Ahab in this, perhaps the great American novel, and wondering how I should begin to approach this character. I could only think of one person who knew more about Ahab in performance than anyone else, and that was Gregory Peck, who of course had played Ahab in the John Huston movie. So somehow I got a contact for Gregory Peck, and I wrote him a letter asking him if he would agree to see me to talk about Ahab. And one afternoon I came home and there was a flashing light on my voicemail, and I listened to it, and that unmistakable voice said, hello Patrick, this is Greg Peck. And I went and had tea with him and had the most wonderful couple of hours talking about Moby Dick. But then we got to Australia where we were to film it, and there was the day that we were filming Ahab's first scene on board the Pequod, when he first talks to the crew about what the objective of their mission is, to catch the white whale. And it's a long, rambling soliloquy. And we had done a couple of takes, and I was getting into the feeling of it, and the director said, okay, we're going to do one more take. And I said, okay, thanks, and as I looked over at the director, sitting in a chair alongside him was the original Ahab, Gregory Peck. And I had to be Ahab in front of him. And I can tell you that was pretty intimidating. But these great actors, these great stars, they sometimes have bad reputations, but invariably they're very sweet people. Because what happened after we had done this take, and the director said, okay, Patrick, take a break. And I went over and I said, welcome to the set, Mr. Peck. I still called him Mr. And he said, no, Greg, call me Greg. And he said, I was listening to you, and I realized I never had the voice for Ahab. You have the voice. Amazing. These legendary stars are people, and kind, generous, and sweethearted people. Well, most of them, anyway.
How well did the transition go between Shakespeare and Star Trek?
Well, as the months of the first season went by, I became increasingly grateful for all those productions of Shakespeare, because I found there were so many similarities between Star Trek and the work I had done with the Royal Shakespeare Company and elsewhere. Star Trek language is not ordinary everyday language. It is somewhat heightened. I would always recognize Star Trek language wherever I heard it. Furthermore, we are wearing costume, and just like Elizabethan costume, no pockets. And sometimes actors would be very uncomfortable, and they'd stand like this, because they didn't know what to do with their hands. But if you spent half your career acting in tights, that's what you do with your hands. And then the bridge of the Enterprise was a stage set. It in fact bore some resemblance to an Elizabethan stage, with its entrances upstage, left and right, downstage, left and right, a raised area at the back, not as high as you'll find in the Globe, but nevertheless a more dominant position. The King's throne right in the center, or the Captain's chair, and a view screen in front, which was like a proscenium arch. And it always felt to me that, and in fact, once when we were doing press for the launch of Next Generation, I was doing interview after interview after interview and becoming increasingly irritated by the constant suggestion of journalists that, given my history and background, I was somehow slumming by agreeing to be in a syndicated science fiction television series. And one day, I just had enough of this, and I said to the journalist, listen, all those years of sitting in thrones of England were nothing but a preparation for sitting in the captain's chair of the Enterprise. True, and you know, all of us in Next Generation, we'd all had stage experience, and it was always interesting to me that when we had guest actors, the ones who were most comfortable with the style of Star Trek were those actors who had a background on the stage. But, you know, it worked both ways, because when I went back to doing Shakespeare after Star Trek, I brought a level of comfort and self-confidence to the work that I did in Othello, in Antony and Cleopatra, in The Tempest, in The Merchant of Venice, that I had had before I went to Hollywood.
I have a lady here with a baby, so
I can see you. Hello.
Hi. Sorry. I just wanted to say, a number of years ago you spoke at my brother-in-law's graduation in Huddersfield. My husband and I unfortunately weren't able to make it, which obviously we were quite upset about. I wondered what it meant to you to be able to go to the university and to speak at those graduations, and how you feel about all of the people that work so hard to be able to graduate. And also, my partner is graduating this year for his Masters. Any chance you could come to Lincoln Cathedral?
To Lincoln? I would love to, because Lincoln was the town in which I first got paid for acting. My first job out of drama school was at the Theatre Royal Lincoln. And I love that city, so I would love to come back. However, I don't know how Huddersfield would feel about that. I've been Chancellor of Huddersfield University for 8 years now. And when I was approached by the previous Vice Chancellor on behalf of the University Council, my reaction to the invitation was instantaneous. I said yes, because I knew that it would give me an opportunity to fulfill a promise that I had made decades earlier. When I was applying for a grant to go to drama school, and in those halcyon days they gave grants, I had to go to Wakefield to appear before the grants committee of the West Riding County Council. Now, I left school at 15 in 2 days with a very, very modest education. But I was in the secondary modern school, but with an English teacher who changed my life.